I just dropped my first single with Lil Gotit, but a year ago, I was literally pretending to produce for Future. I was ripping Future acapellas off of old unreleased songs and trying to make my own songs around them just to get a feeling of what it would be like to actually produce for an artist. No connections, no placements, nobody knew my name. So I took a risk. I flew to Atlanta and that trip changed everything. I ended up in the studio with Doughboy and Lil Gotit and securing my first 2 placements. But the real win wasn't the placements, it was the connections I made. Because through those relationships, I made something happen that the version of me from a year ago would never believe. I dropped my first single as a producer and I got Lil Gotit to hop on the song. Not just a placement, but my own song from the ground up. So this beat had to be different. Switch up, beat sections, energy shifts, it had to feel like a statement. So here's how I did it. Before I made anything, I studied Lil Gotit's sound. He usually floats around that 120 to 30 BPM range. And that's actually my favorite BPM to produce at. So off the rip, the tempo already felt right. Everything started there. Now, for the main melody, I wanted something big, something orchestral, grand. I love beats that just sound cinematic, like something important is happening. Not just a loop, not just vibes. So I built this huge orchestral section to kick off the main melody.
Okay, so as you can see, this whole thing is a huge mess. So I started off with this MIDI right here out of augmented strings. I just picked a random ass staccato string. Yeah, and then I ran that through drip and then shapeshifter as well. And then I got this sound. After I had that, I wanted to add some low end, and I don't know why I have like Opus and shit, the best plugins ever for brass, but I have always just loved this one preset from Xenology, and it's a low brass, so I added that and it sounded like this. It already sounds kind of cool just like this, but there's this space in between the brass sections that I just felt like we could add something cool. So I took this phrase out of co-producer by Output and it sounded like this. Now it was already sounding pretty cool, but I felt like this string trill was like building up to something and I wanted something to just hit like on every bar, the beginning of every bar. So I just grabbed, you know, the old classic trap bell. So that was like, when I had this, I was like, okay, this beat is already, I know this shit is gonna go crazy. After every 8 bars, you want something to switch up. I went into co-producer again and I found another type of string trill sound and I added it. Now I actually went into Shaper Box and just did this super small like panning effect so that the first one goes to one side, the second one goes to another side. So after I had this, there was basically like this is everything for the first part of the melody in the song. So after I had this kind of section, I needed to switch it up a little bit more. Little thing was added. The way it got that sound, I pitched it up like 24 semitones. I put halftime on it and there was some really harsh frequencies around like this section. You can see that crazy spike right there. So I just dragged those down a bit. You know, to kind of balance off that, we added this other like kind of lead sound effect. And all that was added to that was just panning effect, so it goes from one ear to the other. And with everything else, this is what it sounded like.
But I didn't want it to just loop. After the main melody, it needed a shift. Not something random, but something that really switches the vibe up and makes you feel like you're in a whole new dimension almost. So I flipped it into something more synth-driven, more reversed, and more atmospheric. When you reverse textures, everything just sounds unfamiliar, and I love that vibe. It's the same energy, but flipped. That section creates a lot of tension and energy before the song goes anywhere else.
So after this part, basically the only thing being kept from the melody before was the bell sound. To switch out the low end, there was this low piano added. And that same phrase that was used right here was used again, but just playing the full clip and pitching it down 12. On top of that, this phrase was added. And then together with everything else.
Then comes the bridge. Now, this part was important, because once the drums have been hitting for a while, your ears tend to get used to them. Not boring, but expected. So I needed to pull everything back and make it calmer, more ambient, more space. Almost like the song and the beat is taking a breath. That way, when the drums hit again, they hit twice as hard. The bridge isn't just a break, it's a setup.
Now, for the bridge, we needed something to go crazy. So to transition it from this section to the bridge nicely, I kept this same phrase. But then to build some tension at this point, I pitched it up again by 12. So I added this bass out of Analog Lab. But as you can tell, that was sounding pretty empty. So just to fill out some space, string chords were added. This was sounding pretty nice to me, but it was just kind of boring. We ended up adding some like ARP stuff that was panning from side to side. And lastly, for the melodic parts of the bridge, I added this lead sound out of Synth Palace, and then a riser effect to sort of transition into the bridge. After the bridge, it just goes back into that main melody. Now for after this part, it switches back into that other melody, but it's a little bit different this time. Now after this, I went and grabbed this brass. And after this, it just goes back into that same string section again.
For the outro, I went all the way. Overly orchestral. Big brass, huge textures filling the entire space. I wanted it to feel like the final scene in a movie. Like you just beat the final boss. Not just another song ending, but an event in and of itself. I layered heavy brass elements to make it more triumphant and dramatic. And I treated the vocals here differently too. Wider, more stereo, almost like a giant massive chant going on, filling up the entire room. That section had to feel larger than life.
A lot of like the same elements that were used in the bridge section that were used in the outro. So I went into Opus, like the greatest plugin ever for, you know, orchestral sounds. And then I layered another layer. And all together it sounded like this. But I still felt like it was a little bit, not boring, but just it missed something. So I went into co-producer again and I found this sort of lead trumpet sound and it just sounded perfect.
Now for the drums. Before I break down the pattern itself, just a quick note, every single drum I use in this song comes from my new drum kit, the What You Sayin drum kit. So the 808, the clap, the hi-hats, all of that is in that kit. It's the exact same sounds I use when I make beats for artists. If you like how these drums hit and you want those same type of sounds in your beats, the link to the kit is down below. I spent a lot of time picking sounds that felt placement ready. Hard-hitting, modern, clean trap. The kind of drums that work right away without needing to do a bunch of mixing and processing just to make them sound okay. So if you're feeling the drums in this track, definitely go check that out. Alright, now let's actually talk about the pattern. I didn't want no basic two-step hi-hat pattern. I wanted bounce, movement, patterns that feel alive. Some people might think it's a little too OD, but I love beats that are active and have a bunch of stuff going on. That slower BPM where the drums really dance is what makes the hard-hitting drums actually feel aggressive even at a slower BPM. It is harder for some artists to rap on, but when it works, it sounds amazing. And this one really worked.
The hi-hat had to be bouncy, so with the hi-hat, this is what it sounded like. I went in and I added some open hats. And then the clap. I added these kind of bounce snares, I don't even know what to call them. And finally for the drums, to sort of accentuate the rolls. So that was pretty much it for the drums, but I had to add some snare rolls. Now what I always do is I layer the 808 rolls with the snares. Together it sounded like this. Now right before the bridge section hits, I added another snare and 808 roll. Now for the bridge section I wanted some added this sort of vintage drum bounce. Now to get that sort of effect where it's like underwater, I just added some low filter and took down the low end a little bit. Without that stuff, it sounds like this. Then of course you can't forget the Project 6 tag. So with that, it sounded like this.
Project 6, okay.
I gotta say this, huge shout out to all the producers that worked with me on this song. None of this happens alone. Everybody involved is crazy talented. Everybody's Instagram links are in the description. Definitely go tap in with them and follow them. At the same time that I'm chasing placements, posting on YouTube, trying to build my brand, I also want to drop my own songs, my own records. Because when producers drop their own songs, it's not just beats, it's something else. It becomes its own world, an experience. That's always inspired me. So yeah, I'm gonna keep chasing placements, but I'm also building my own catalog, my own statements. I've got more records coming. I got another one with Lil Gotit on the way, and I have more collaborations in motion too. Let me know what you think about the song in the comment section. I put everything into this one. If you want to follow the journey, you already know, just subscribe and follow my Instagram, because we're just getting started.